big man who needed a big game in Oklahoma City to help the Celtics bail them out, really, on that road trip. Welcome in here to Celtics Pregame Live, presented by TD Bank. I am Abby Chin. He is Chris Forsberg, and we are getting you set for Celtics OKC. Chris, the Celtics have lost 2 straight. The Thunder have lost 14 straight. So yes, while the Celtics will be without 3 starters, in Kemba, Jason, and Rob, they do have Jaylen Brown.
And look, as much as you look at it and say they've lost 14 straight, these Thunder, like Jaylen Brown is going to have to be ready because he's the guy that has to carry the load, just like Lou Dort and the Thunder.
No one here on this show is sleeping on Lou Dort because we have Scal coming up. It's his guy. Scal will tell you best contract in the NBA until Moses Brown signed a very similar one with non-guaranteed money. This should be fun, despite the fact that OKC comes in on that losing streak. The Celtics need a win in the worst way, and hopefully they fight for it tonight. This is Celtics Pregame Live. We've got injury updates coming up, Scal's keys to victory, and we'll take a look at the possible playoff matchup that the Celtics are slated in right now. Stick with us. Now, from TD Garden, Scal, please expand.
Yeah, so I know that this is a game like Oklahoma City Thunder. Who are these guys? Inspired basketball. I get it. You're going to make mistakes along the way, but you got to defend at a high level. You could know the game plan at a high level. You got to play at a high level. Move the ball, low turnover, all those things, and that's what I'm looking for from these guys today. And if they do that, the Celtics will take care of business, and those guys will get a chance moving forward.
The one name you left out that sort of surprised me was no Romeo Langford in here. And for me, that's the guy I'm focused on tonight. He's been in the doghouse since that Brooklyn forward.
Scott, what do you make of that, of Romeo not getting the minutes that he had been after his return up until this point?
You mean, why hasn't he gotten the minutes? Well, he hasn't played well, Abby. But why is he playing this way in the playoffs after missing all that time? I have no idea why he wakes up one day and decides not to bring it on the highest level on the defensive end. It's mind-boggling to me. I think he's a special defender. I think he can guard anybody in the league. And for him to go out there and coast, your guess is as good as mine, Abby.
Scal, thank you. And that's what I was looking for, that expertise. Looking for some answers. I want to start with the Time Lord, though, of course, because we have Chris here.
Why are you trying to hurt me, Abby? Why are you trying to hurt me?
I'm just pointing out. When this injury initially happened, it is knee soreness. Brad Stevens sounded very positive, optimistic. It wouldn't be anything long-term. And Brad is hopeful that Rob will be able to play tomorrow night in the second half of this back-to-back, but that date has just been pushed back and pushed back.
It's been a roller coaster of emotion. I'm just going to say, like, these 14 days have been tough on me, and I hope everyone can respect my privacy while we wait for the Time Lord to get back out there. I'm just saying, like, look, I think part of it is he is just such an explosion. I miss you so much.
I think we all do. The Celtics certainly do. We know that.
They're not as fun without Rob.
They don't move the ball, apparently. Kemba Walker, his issue, the team calling it an oblique. Brad Stevens told us pregame that he will miss at least these 2 games on this back-to-back. He had some imaging done. The thing is, Chris, with Kemba, the injury occurred in the second quarter of that game against Charlotte. He went out immediately, but then came back and played the entire second half. So before the game tonight, Brad Stevens was asked if there's any regrets about keeping him in the game. Big perk now. So perk, if the playoffs started today, that would mean a first-round matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks. How are you feeling about that?
Well, to be honest with you, at 4 or 5 range.
I think the Bucks, almost as determined as Hermes, your little dog there, to get some cuddles with perk. Let's hear third quarter to take care of business against the Thunder. Tell me about this team, and I mean, really, the Celtics shouldn't have a problem here tonight, right?
They shouldn't, but this is like they play extremely hard and they compete. And you got to realize this Oklahoma City Thunder team, it's a lot of guys on there who's fighting for their livelihoods in this rookie deal, in these rookie contracts. So the Celtics should win in good fashion. This is a game that they got to win, a must-win situation for them to move up in the standings.
The Thunder, the youngest team, are missing 3 starters, as Perk mentioned there. Mike, Scal, thank you for being here. Brad Stevens going with Semi Ojeleye and Evan Fournier in the starting lineup alongside Marcus, Jaylen Brown, and Tristan Thompson. Mike, what do you think about adding the 2 vets?
Well, first off, I think Perk's got to start coming to rehearsals. You know, so
no, he knows who Pokuševski is. Poku. The way Abby said it, it was like a thing going on. Like, hey, you into Poku? No, I'm not into Poku. Are you into Poku?
Well, and then another thing, y'all know I struggle with names that are not common. You know, I'm still trying to figure out how to say Bam out of the Bayou. That's it, and that's how it is. You know, Vucevic. You know, I'm still trying to pronounce those foreigner names. So when Abby hit me with that by surprise, I'm like, who?
I know, that's on me. That's on me. Let's talk about the Celtics starting five.
I should know my personnel.
Oh, Jelly, he's starting.
Semi. We got Semi, yep, in the starting five.
We got some interesting characters in this game, that's for sure. But getting back to your original question, Ab, I think Coach is doing what he has to do, is getting people in that he wants to see. And, you know, the Celtics have got to turn that emphasis to defense sometime over the next 11 games here, or they're not going very far in the second season.
And I think I think this whole thing is to try to get Evan Fournier, get him going, put him out there with Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart will have the ball in his hands today. Celtics 8-1 when he has 8 assists or more. Maybe he can get some of those to Shemi or to Fournier.
Speaking of Evan, Perk, he still has yet to make a shot since returning from COVID. How difficult do you think that is, and how important is it to try and find some chemistry with this team in the few games that are left?
It's very crucial, but it's very crucial for him to get his rhythm first. You know, I think the way that he plays, he can fit in anybody's system because he's a guy that plays off the ball, a cutter, a slasher, and he's going to be fine. I guarantee you he hit a couple shots tonight.
I hope so.
Celtics down 6 to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have lost 14 straight. Abby and Perk here with you on Celtics Halftime Live, presented by Stop and Shop. Perk, I don't know where the Celtics team would be without Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard. Oklahoma City, though, getting anything they want down the middle.
Yeah, they're playing desperate like the Celtics need to be playing, right? And finish them with the left hand. Put your body on the line and take the charge. Right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are too comfortable.
Much too comfortable, and the Celtics not hitting shots. Jaylen Brown, though.
It's time for the snack break, presented by Stop and Shop. Get your snacks ready for the second half and take care of all of your game day snacking needs by visiting your local Stop and Shop location. Make the most of every meal.
Chevrolet.
Welcome back. It's time for a Chevrolet Sportsnet Central update. As we talked about in pregame, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker announced today that sports venues can move to 25% capacity starting on May 10th. That number is currently capped at 12%. The state plans to lift all restrictions on August 1st. In time for football season. Back to basketball. Al and Mike bring you all the latest. Perk, what do you need to see here in the second half?
Well, I mean, it's simple. We need to see some heart, some type of fight. I mean, look, hope.
It did take a huge run starting late in the third quarter.
I agree with you. It felt like Marcus Smart was trying to do too much. As we bring in Scal now on the call. Scal, what do you make of what you called during the game worst loss of the season?
Oh, already on fire.
I mean, the Celtics also couldn't buy a basket, particularly from three. They finished the night missing 38 threes. But, Scal, you said it. Let's go to the start of this game. And, Perk, take me through it.
No question. I mean, they knew what they were getting into. By the way, this happened down in Oklahoma City. The Celtics had to go zone to even stop these guys to go on that, to understand that their livelihood is at stake every time they go out there.
Abby, real quick, Scal. Last time the Celtics and OKC played in Oklahoma, the big fella, Moses, he got a contract extension right after the game. Guess what? I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else on this roster get a contract extension after they just put on a performance against the Celtics. So, I mean, you know, that's all I wanted to say.
I'm sorry I interrupted you, Perk, earlier. The first quarter stuff drove me insane because you knew exactly what Oklahoma City wanted to do. But then, in the fourth quarter...
Dunk contest.
Why are you laughing?
Perk is flabbergasted. No, because what Perk is right. I know what Perk is thinking. Like, this is unacceptable defense.
Man.
It's unacceptable defense. It is just, we can't even talk about it. It was that bad today in the fourth quarter. It's unacceptable defense.
It's the most points any team has put up on the Celtics in a fourth quarter this season, and it was by a G League team. Okay, so that's defense.
I told you guys. I told you in the middle of the game. The Baylor Bears, who just won a national championship, their starting five, the average is 2 years older than what we just saw right now. When Perk goes, we got smacked around by some guys who couldn't even buy beer.
It's true. 2 of their starters are 19 years old.
Hey, if we were hanging out with them, Perk, they'd be coming up to us like, yo, hit me up. I need some Miller Lite. Like, this is what we're really talking about right now.
More like White Claws. Scal, that's defense. Offensively, the Celtics, 11 for 48.
See that play that I highlighted? Lou Gensdorf drove, he kicked it, then he went and relocated and got a wide open three. Like, I'm okay with those. It's like, I feel like every time we get a three, we just jack it up there, and even when we're not playing well. And that's why I think you got to establish a paint presence first, and then at that point, the threes will start to flow.
Well, my thing is after you miss your first 15 or 20 and you see that you're not making, at what point are you just going to say, you know what, I'm going to attack the basket? And, you know, I was going to say something about Brad, but this wasn't on Brad. This was all about effort. And this was horrible to watch.
He was in foul trouble all night long. Perk, Scal, thank you very much for... Celtics fall for the third straight game, 119-115 the final against Oklahoma City tonight. I am out of words at the moment. Let's hear now from the head coach, Brad Stevens. It's brought to you by Arbella Insurance. Here for Celtics fans, here for good. Here on Celtics Post-Game Live, Jaylen Brown put up 39 points, and it wasn't enough in this loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. We know he's the player of the game, but somebody's got to win the Tommy Award tonight. I think it's down to 2 players, Peyton Pritchard or Luke Cornett. Let's find out who Scal went with. I'm going to send it back out to Mike and Scal.
Proud.
Perk and I were dressed appropriately for this funeral. Chris Forsberg.
I got
wearing
flowers
a nice spring cardigan. Welcome in here to Celtics Post Game Plus, presented by your New England Ford dealers. I'm trying to make jokes. Trying to keep things light as the Celtics fall to the Oklahoma City Thunder, 119-115. The Thunder snap their franchise-tying 14-game losing streak. Chris, we just heard from Jaylen Brown before we went to break. What do you make of his comments and the game in general?
Like Jaylen, around.
Perk, what do you think about what Jaylen said? Do you agree with him that it is in this team, they just have to find this fight?
Well, I mean, you know, I agree with some of the things that Jaylen was saying. But, you know, the thing that he talked about a lot that bothered me was the offensive end, right? About missing shots, and we'll take those shots again. Well, you scored 115 points, although you did miss.
I mean, their coach insulted them after the Charlotte game, saying they came out defending like they thought they were defending themselves a step slow. And that's as tough of a shot you're going to hear publicly from Brad Stevens, and still didn't respond. And I think that's where the frustration from Jaylen Brown came. A loss there would give the Hornets the tiebreaker in another tie situation. And so, Chris, I mean, we've been saying it for a handful of games now. Every win matters. It just doesn't seem to matter to this team.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if wins matter at this point. Like, just take your fate. Like, you're going to have just as much of a puncher's chance going against one of the top seeds as you are, versus trying to line yourself up. Like, I think they'll struggle just as much with the Hawks as they will with the Bucks or whatever now. So I don't know. Like, you'd feel better if they could put some good basketball together going into the playoffs, but I don't know if it's going to necessarily change their fate of their postseason stay. I will say this. So the Knicks still have to go out west. They got a 6-game West Coast trip. It's going to be really tough for them to maintain their level of success. Atlanta's got to play Philadelphia twice, and then they play the Wizards, who are sort of surging up and trying to get into that play-in tournament or better their play-in seeding. So I do think it's going to be... The door is wide open for Boston to just get.
But that doesn't matter because they lose games like Oklahoma
and then they lose these games
at home.
And so I don't know. I said I wouldn't get worked up. Here I am.
Perk, have you ever been on a team like this, been in a locker room like this? Have you ever been a part of something like this?
Well, I mean, a young locker room where we wasn't expected to win anything, but not a locker room that had expectations. And I've never seen a team know.
And isn't that most condemning? That we just have no idea if they care. Like, we think they care. They should take it personal, but they never show it.
They say they care. So that's my bigger question. This team, and I'm supposed to go to break here, but are they just not that good, Perk? Is that the reality? Let's keep it 100.
I mean, this is an opportunity for the Rollers
in Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, and Rob Williams, Chris.
And we never know how these injuries are going to react until the next day and what happens overnight. So, you know, look, again, you're just crossing your fingers. It feels like it would be the most Celtics thing for this thing to turn into something bigger, but hopefully it is not.
Keep it tuned to our social channels. We'll have injury updates as soon as they are available. Right now, though, it's time for Storylines. Here's Tom Giles. As I'm back here with Chris and Perk now. On
Can people really stream it on their My Teams app if they've broken their phone in anger?
It's just cracked and
I mean, like, can't watch that stream
on the floor out of anger. Perk, the Celtics do need to bounce back. I mean, they've got to turn things around. Obviously, Charlotte coming in, who embarrassed them over the weekend, right? I mean, if they're going to show some heart, you'd hope it's tomorrow night.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow night this is who the Celtics really are.
Can we promise not to overreact? Like, if they win, it's like not magically fixed or anything? Like, this thing is broken.
I'm there.
Broken.
I'm with you. Fool me once. I really thought the turnaround happened. The 6-game win streak, they gutted out those wins over the Knicks. I was on board.
I have one.